Welcome back to the channel, my spooky friends. I'm Sam, and tonight we're diving deep into the heart of darkness, exploring places where the veil between our world and the spectral realm wears thin. Imagine the echoing silence of a deserted terminal, the rows of empty seats, the ghostly arrival and departure times flickering on the dusty screens. Tonight, we have three bone-chilling tales of ghostly apparitions sighted in these deserted bus stations. Our first story takes us to the outskirts of a forgotten town, where the only sign of life is the dilapidated shell of what was once the bustling town's central bus station. It stands there, looming over the cracked asphalt, windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world, holding secrets of the past. It's here that a young man, late for the last bus out of town, found himself facing a night of unexpected terror and mystery. His car had broken down miles back, the engine sputtering its last breath just as the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows. He had no choice but to hoof it, guided by a single flickering street lamp that marked the station's entrance, a beacon in the growing darkness. The wind howled through the shattered panes of the station windows, a chorus of mournful cries that sent shivers down his spine, making him feel utterly alone. He pulled his thin jacket tighter around himself, the air growing colder with each step he took toward the building, as if the night itself was closing in. He told himself it was just the wind, just the cold, but a primal fear began to gnaw at the edges of his composure, whispering doubts into his mind. He pushed open the station door, the metal groaning in protest, as if warning him to turn back, to leave while he still could. The stench of stale cigarette smoke and mildew assaulted his nostrils, thick and suffocating, a testament to years of neglect and abandonment. Dust motes danced in the faint moonlight filtering through the grimy windows, painting an eerie tableau on the cracked tile floor, like a scene from a forgotten dream. He could hear his own heart pounding in his chest, a frantic rhythm that echoed in the oppressive silence, amplifying his sense of dread. There wasn't a soul in sight, not even a stray dog seeking shelter from the encroaching night, adding to the eerie stillness. The only sound was the relentless wind whistling through the broken windows, a haunting melody of desolation. He walked further into the station, his footsteps echoing ominously in the silence, each step a reminder of his isolation. He approached the ticket counter, its surface layered in dust, untouched for years. A faded timetable, yellowed with age, hung crookedly on the wall behind it, listing destinations that now existed only in memory, relics of a bygone era. He ran his finger along the dusty surface of the counter, a chill running up his arm despite the building's stagnant air, making him shiver, and that's when he saw her. At the far end of a row of empty plastic seats, a lone figure sat shrouded in shadow. It was a woman, her back to him, her head bent at an unnatural angle as if she were broken. She seemed to be staring intently at something in her lap, though he couldn't make out what it was from this distance, curiosity mixing with fear. Relief, for a fleeting moment, washed over him. At least he wasn't alone, or so he thought. He took a step forward, about to call out to her, when a cold gust of wind slammed the station door shut with a resounding bang. He jumped, his heart leaping into his throat, and turned to see the door swinging gently on its hinges as if pushed by an invisible hand. When he turned back, his blood ran ice cold. The woman was gone, vanished into thin air. He didn't waste any more time. He ran, his fear lending speed to his steps, not stopping until he was far away from that cursed place, never looking back. Our next tale takes us to a bustling city, a place where the energy of millions pulses through concrete veins, where even the night offers no respite from the constant hum of activity. Yet even in this urban jungle, there are pockets of stillness, places untouched by the relentless march of time. One such place was the old city bus depot, a relic of a bygone era, overshadowed by its modern, gleaming counterparts. Most people avoided it, opting for the convenience of the newer stations, but for some it was a necessary stop on their daily commute. It was here that a young woman waiting for the last bus home after a grueling double shift encountered something that would forever change her perception of the world around her. She was exhausted, her mind numb from the day's work. her body aching for the comfort of her bed. The station was mostly deserted at this late hour, the usual crowds long gone, leaving behind an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional rumble of a distant train. She sat alone on a bench beneath a flickering fluorescent light, its pale glow doing little to penetrate the oppressive darkness that seemed to cling to the station's corners. She pulled her jacket tighter around herself, the air in the station surprisingly cold despite the summer heat outside. She could see her breath misting in front of her face, and she rubbed her hands together, trying to warm them. She checked her watch again, impatient for the arrival of her bus, her gaze drifting across the empty seats around her. That's when she noticed him. At the far end of the platform, partially obscured by the shadows, stood a man. He was tall and thin, his clothes dark and nondescript. He didn't seem to notice her, his gaze fixed on something in the distance, his body strangely still, like a statue carved from the shadows themselves. She tried to ignore him, to focus on anything else but the unsettling feeling that crept up her spine. But something about him, something about the way he stood there, so still and silent, sent a shiver down her spine. She found herself stealing glances at him, each time her gaze drawn back to his unmoving form. He never moved, never even seemed to breathe. And as the minutes ticked by, her unease morphed into full-blown fear. Then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, he was gone. One moment he was there, a specter at the edge of her vision, and the next he had vanished into thin air. She never saw the lonely specter again, but she never forgot the feeling of dread, of being watched by something unseen that had gripped her that night. The memory of the lonely specter remained, a chilling reminder that even in the heart of a bustling city, some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets hidden in the shadows. Chapter 3. Our final story brings us to a place steeped in tragedy, a place where the echoes of the past mingle with the present, creating a tapestry of sorrow and terror that is hard to ignore. This is the story of the old Greyfriars bus terminal, a place where the veil between the living and the dead is stretched thin, where the restless spirits of those who met their end within its walls still roam, unable to find peace. The terminal itself is a testament to decay and neglect, a shadow of its former self. Its once grand facade is now marred by peeling paint and cracked concrete, signs of years of abandonment. The windows, most of them boarded up, stare out at the world like the empty eyes of a skull, adding to the eerie atmosphere. It's a place people avoid, a place where even the sunlight seems hesitant to penetrate, casting long shadows that seem to move on their own. The stories surrounding Greyfriars are as numerous as they are disturbing, each one more chilling than the last. Some whisper of a tragic accident, a bus full of passengers that met a fiery end within the terminal's walls, their screams still echoing in the night. Others speak of a string of suicides, lost souls driven to despair within the station's gloomy confines, their spirits forever trapped. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: Greyfriars is a place where the dead refuse to stay buried, their presence felt by all who dare to enter. Over the years, there have been countless reports of strange and unsettling occurrences within the terminal's walls, each one more inexplicable than the last. Security guards tell tales of disembodied footsteps echoing through the empty corridors, of doors slamming shut on their own, of cold spots that defy all logical explanation, sending shivers down their spines. Some have even claimed to have seen the apparitions themselves, shadowy figures that flit through the terminal, their forms shifting and changing like smoke on the wind, always just out of reach. There's the old woman in a tattered dress, said to be the spirit of a homeless woman who froze to death on the terminal floor one bitterly cold winter night. Her sorrowful wails still heard. She's often seen wandering the waiting area, her spectral form appearing and disappearing without a trace. A reminder of the terminal's tragic past. Then there's the young boy, his laughter echoing through the empty halls, a sound that chills the blood. Legend has it that he was hit and killed by a bus years ago, his small body crushed beneath its wheels, his spirit unable to move on. He's often seen playing near the old ticket booths, his laughter turning into blood-curdling screams as you get closer, a warning to those who dare approach. But perhaps the most terrifying of all the Greyfriars ghosts is the spectral bus driver, a figure of pure malevolence. He's said to be the spirit of a man who lost his mind after driving his bus into a ravine, killing himself and all his passengers, his guilt binding him to the terminal. He's often seen behind the wheel of a phantom bus, its headlights cutting through the darkness, its horn blaring as it races through the deserted terminal, a harbinger of doom. If you ever find yourself passing by the old Greyfriars bus terminal, do yourself a favor, keep driving and don't look back. That's it for tonight, my fellow explorers of the unknown. I hope you enjoyed these tales of deserted stations and the spirits who haunt them. If you enjoyed tonight's journey into the darkness, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-chilling stories. Until next time, sweet dreams, or should I say terrifying nightmares.